Hello and welcome. Please enjoy this short readiness video on Azure Database for PostgreSQL. With us now we have Dan, Alpert, and Chinmay Kanchi. Welcome to the studio, Dan and Chinmay.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
How you doing?
Really good. How about you?
Great. So can you please tell us more about your role at Microsoft, Dan?
Sure. So I came by way of the Citus acquisition about a year ago. I'm a product specialist in the open source division in product and engineering, and I really specialize around Postgres and Hyperscale Citus.
Fantastic. And I know I'm really excited to have Chinmay with us, one of our customers.
Yeah.
So can you please tell us more about where you work and what you do?
Yeah. So I'm principal engineer at Inlift. We're a technology startup, and I work primarily on building large distributed systems to process the data that we get and also perform machine learning on them.
Oh, fantastic. We always love having customers in the studio, so thank you for being here with us. All right, Dan, I would like to start with you. And can you please just briefly tell us what are you going to talk about? Yeah,
so today we're going to walk through a little bit around Postgres and, of course, Hyperscale Citus. Of course, we're going to talk about who Inlift is and what their workload is, and then why they chose to work with us here at Microsoft and Hyperscale Citus.
All right, let's start with Hyperscale then.
Sure. So it's kind of hard to talk about Hyperscale Citus without giving a little bit of a nod to the Postgres community. So Postgres itself, second most popular database in the world and the fastest growing database in the world. Postgres has been around 22 plus years. And it's a huge community that continues to do a lot of investment and contributions to the platform every year with major annual releases. Nice thing about the platform is not only is it the most popular open source database in the world and the second most popular database in the world, but it's great at multiple types of workloads. It's great at multiple types of data. So not just structured data, but you can actually use semi-structured and unstructured data. Which also leads towards, Chinmay will mention a little bit later, around the popularity at their organization or with Postgres. Now, it's hard to, the one thing about Postgres, though, is it's single node. So it can be compute, mem, or even storage eventually can create a bottleneck in that single node setup. So that's where really Hyperscale Citus comes into play. You add us onto vanilla Postgres node as you would any other extension, and Postgres has a ton of extensions available to it. But now you can take that single node up to hundreds of nodes, thousands of cores, and petabytes of data in a single Postgres cluster. So really, you can scale it to whatever your needs are, depending on the workload and the use case. But not only this, but it enables multiple types of workloads. So OLAP analytics, transactional, many types of workloads, but at scale and with speed. And the way that we do it with speed is, if you're familiar with Hadoop and MapReduce, we're that, but for the SQL world. So from a parallelism standpoint, we're able to efficiently, the Citus logic efficiently uses the resources within all the nodes to be able to run parallelism on the queries so that it returns faster results.
Okay, awesome. So now, Chinmay, could you please tell us more about your organization and the platform?
So, as I said, Inlift is a tech startup. We're based right down the road in Bellevue. And what we do is we help B2B companies with their customer acquisition needs. So if you think about the way sales and marketing works, the very top of the funnel, prospecting and trying to find your early sort of target audience, that's historically been really inefficient and very data deficient. What we aim to do is change that. We profile tens of millions of organizations using billions of publicly available documents, and we find out if what technologies those organizations use, whether they're really primarily a SaaS shop, or are they moving to the cloud, or do they still have a large on-prem IT infrastructure, so stuff like that. And we then combine that with customers' own sales and marketing data and build really sophisticated machine learning models on top of that. Microsoft actually is a customer as well. And we've seen conversion rates of up to 2x or even 4x using our platform versus just going blind. So yeah, that's what we do.
Fantastic. So Dan, I know you worked with them. So can you please give us an overview of their use case?
Yeah. So the use case for Inlift and Chinmay's team really falls into three workloads. OLAP, from an analytical standpoint, they need to be able to serve back real-time information to their clients, and of course transactional, so OLTP, be able to ingest from the thousands of different data points that they're bringing into their system, and they'd like to do this in a near real-time fashion. And then of course they're a SaaS application, so as a future kind of leaning on the front of your skis kind of thing, having the ability to have this either in a multi-tenant setup or as tenant isolation for loud clients or noisy neighbors. Hyperscale Citus is able to do all three of these in a single database. NLift needed a fully read-write database at scale. They also needed this in the low terabytes, from a data size standpoint, but also needed this to return results real time. Previously, NLift had used another database solution to provide the read part of this, and they were getting the performance speeds that they wanted from a read standpoint, but the writes weren't scaling with this other database.
It's all about the writes. Those are the difficult things.
That's right. That's right. I know. And it also created a little bit of manual effort on their part, pulling it out of one database to putting it into another database from the read to be able to provide that OLAP, that analytics, and the speed that they needed to for their clients. And Chinmay will go through that here in a little bit. But what Hyperscale does is it really delivers on both of these, fast reads, fast writes, and concurrent in a concurrent way. And of course, keeping in mind multi-tenancy as they continue to grow.
I see. So Chinmay, what brought you to have interest in Hyperscale, Citus, and Postgres?
Yeah. So we've, as an organization and as a startup, we've always really strongly believed that regardless of the pain that we might face, we have to be on the right technology all the time. So we've switched databases as our needs changed pretty aggressively. But somehow, once we started using Postgres about, 4.5 years ago, it just stuck in our organization. And we really love Postgres, because you get all the SQL stuff. You also get really, really robust support for unstructured data with JSON-B. And also it's open source, which we absolutely love. Like as an organization, we're really into open source. So that was primarily why we ended up using Postgres. Yeah. But for certain use cases, Postgres wouldn't scale. And there we would use other databases, something NoSQL, that kind of stuff. And what used to end up happening was you'd have this really painful migration that was run, weekly or whatever from Postgres to your NoSQL database. With Citus, we actually started looking into Citus even before the Microsoft acquisition was announced, but we were, for a small organization, we were very wary of the amount of DevOps and management overhead that it would have. And so when I heard Craig speak at Build about when you guys launched public preview, we just jumped on it straight away.
I see. All right, there's a live question from the audience. What unstructured data did you have? What type of unstructured data were you looking at?
So it's mostly JSON data. Okay. We have some schema around it internally, but we like to keep that really flexible. The other kind of unstructured data that we have is we actually synthesize client information with our own data, and that can be completely schemaless. Yes. So having a database that can actually do those things and do joins against our data, which the NoSQL databases can't, that was a big win for us.
That's awesome. All right, so let's. I would still like you to speak to the results that you saw by picking a Hyperscale.
Yeah. So as Dan was mentioning, we retained comparable read performance to our previous solution, which was what we really wanted. But we were able to scale our writes pretty significantly. So I think our build job for our data used to take, 36 hours, and now it takes 3. So we got really significant wins from that. Yes. And on top of that, I think just the fact that as I was saying, you have client data, and because you can sort of use SQL semantics on top of that and join it to data and sort of display it in innovative ways, it really has made our app far more powerful and enabled use cases that weren't enabled before.
I see. Well, that was great. And Dan, any closing thoughts?
No, well, we appreciate the opportunity, Chinmay, and thanks for having us.
Of course. Thanks. Thank you so much, Chinmay, and thank you, Dan.
You got it.
Thanks for watching this short Azure Readiness video.